We should not do impeachment because it's divisive unless it's overwhelmingly bipartisan and it's got a core set of reasons that are above reproach. That's point one. Point two, then, she said she wanted to be fair about it once she commenced it. And in the impeachment inquiry vote that we took on the House floor a couple of weeks ago, I voted no because it did not follow the Republican approach against President Clinton in the 90s or the Democrats' approach against President Nixon in the 70s.
Right.
And I don't think it's been a fair and open process. And that's not to say the Democrats shouldn't do oversight of the president.
Is it just all the secretive stuff? Is that really kind of the crux of this?
Well, part of it is, I think Adam Schiff is a fact witness in his own case. He spoke by email with one of the witnesses.
Right.
He's alleged to have spoken to the whistleblower before the whistleblower was known, which to me gives him a clear conflict of interest. So I don't think he's the right person to be in charge of this process. So I don't think the Intelligence Committee is the right place. If you're going to conduct oversight, you should do that in the Judiciary Committee. It should be open hearings on C-SPAN, fully, the whole process. And I think the president should have the right to have counsel present. That was the case in President Clinton's issue and also for President Nixon.
So I guess kind of where's the process going forward now?
Jay, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Nobody seems to know, really.
As we tape this, I'm not sure where it will go. The Democrats seem convinced that they're going to have a successful impeachment of President Trump. Republicans are complaining, I think rightfully so, because we don't have the facts, and the facts have not been laid out publicly in a fair manner, and the president's had no public due process right to rebut those items. So we're in this tweeting environment, and Republicans and Democrats both selectively leaking some of these transcripts. So I'm not sure this process is going to be fair. And let me say, that's the heart of the American justice system. Whether you're talking about on the streets of our cities like Little Rock or in the House, fairness is a part of the justice system about making sure both sides are adequately heard. And that's what I think we're lacking in this case.
All right, let's switch into some of the actual issues at hand going here. The USMCA, still kind of out there on the table. Where do we stand currently on that?
USMCA, which is President Trump's replacement for NAFTA, which is 25 years old, has been successfully negotiated. Both the Mexicans and the Canadians have approved this deal, and now it needs a vote in the House. Nancy Pelosi could have voted on this anytime since last March. She's held that up, I think, for political purposes. She says she's trying to get to yes, but 100,000 Arkansans want her to get to yes sooner because that's what we have in employment tied to our trade with Canada and Mexico.
And I guess there's sort of as a little bit of a refresher, what all would that do, and kind of how does this directly affect Arkansas? Great
point. It preserves the agricultural trade between the two countries with America and opens the dairy market in Canada for the first time. It creates intellectual property protections, it creates digital trade, it preserves the oil and gas trade, but very importantly, the definition of North American content, which in the past was about 60% American, it moves that number up dramatically. So President Trump got what he wanted, which is the definition of North American content in the auto industry is going to attain more American production. And that was a big thing that he wanted in this revised deal. So, in addition, it's got better labor standards in Mexico. That was a failing point in the original North American Free Trade Agreement negotiations. So on that basis, I think it should be approved, and I think it would pass overwhelmingly in the House and Senate.
And obviously kind of a boon for the agricultural industry here in Arkansas.
Boon for agriculture, but also manufactured goods. And as I say, we are, in Arkansas, our largest trading partners for both ag and non-ag are Mexico and Canada.
There you go. Got to keep the neighbors happy here. Quickly, speaking of trade here, U.S.-China always seems to be a little bit dicey. You kind of see some headway, but then there's just always something that seems to rear its head here. Where do we stand with the Chinese?
Well, President Trump is trying to get an interim deal with China right now on agricultural trade and potentially concrete changes for intellectual property. Honestly, it's good for both sides. I think China needs this deal and the U.S. needs this deal. But I'm not convinced that we will get a good deal that really benefits American manufacturers and protects them from piracy in China.
Yeah.
We haven't had success in that in 25 or 30 years, but I appreciate the President leading the charge on this. I hope he's successful. All of us in Congress want him to be successful on opening up China markets, stopping intellectual property piracy, and getting our ag and manufactured and servicing products into China.
And obviously the ag, once again, sort of the big thing here in Arkansas. I know it kind of opens some of that rice and that soybean market as well for them.
Well, it does, and it would reduce the tariff burdens. And
yeah.
President Trump's tariffs on China caused them to retaliate, which hurt our soybean farmers here in Arkansas. So we want a good deal, but we want a measurable deal and an enforceable deal with China.
All right, plenty more to get to here. We're going to take a quick break here, but we got plenty more here with Congressman French Hill. You're watching Capitol View Sunday morning.
Ashley Home Store believes that great mornings start with the perfect mattress. That's why we carry the nation's top brands like Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, Serta, and our exclusive Ashley Sleep. And with incredible financing and delivery options, your nights of tossing and turning are over. So whether you're a soft pillow top sleeper or the contouring hybrid foam type, we have the perfect mattress for you. Come discover why Ashley Home Store is America's #1 furniture and mattress store. Ashley Home Store. This is home.
Come and enjoy a new experience in shopping for your home. At Aladdin Rugs and Home Decor, we have over 5,000 rugs in the latest colors and styles. Bring your pillows, your pillow shams, and sizes. We will help you select the perfect rug. We're #1 in customer service with 15,000 square feet of rugs, unique home decor, wallpaper, and flooring. Remember, buy today, take it home today, and save. Why wait?
For over 30 years, Townley Pool & Spa has been Central Arkansas's hot tub headquarters, offering hot spring spas, the industry leader in saltwater hot tubs. This low-maintenance water care system will have you in your hot spa more. Take advantage this month and receive a free salt system with your hot spring spa. Spend more time with your family soaking in hot water. Be better, feel better. Now with a free salt system with your hot spring spa. Every day made better with a hot tub from
Townley.
My name is Levi, and I'm a Success Vision employee. You know, they say that every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of world that you want to live in, and I think that's what this is really all about. I think it's powerful when a business is driven by something bigger than profit. You know, when you choose Success Vision, you're not just getting the best deal on glasses. You're giving eye care to the elderly, to women, to children. You're choosing to help people. So thank you.
$239 in an hour for less. Come see us today, Success Vision Express.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View. Still with us here, Congressman French Hill. Again, we could always do anything with you guys here, show after show's worth of stuff, because, again, D.C.'s always got something popping here. One thing that's starting to creep up now is talks of a shutdown here. It always seems that we get to this point at some point in the year. I want to say we're about 2 weeks away from an imminent shutdown here. Where do we stand, and kind of what are some of the sticking points on funding the government?
Well, President Trump agreed with Democratic and Republican leadership to a spending level earlier in the year. I think members thought, well, gosh, now we can work to get all the appropriation bills done. But they're still bogged down in the House and Senate. The House passed a version, a Democratic version in the spring, and Senator Shelby is trying to do that in the Senate. But we have a continuing resolution that goes through November 21st, and I'm fearful that we're going to kick the can down the road and have a continuing resolution extended once again into December or maybe later. I think that's a mistake. I don't think we should have the government shut down.
Right.
But it is wrong that we can't get our appropriations bills completed to fund our national defense in the right way, to help make sure people are paid in a timely way. Haven't we learned those lessons? And I would argue, yes, we have. And particularly when President Trump agreed on a spending plan with House and Democratic leaders. So I really call on our leadership, let's get this done. Let's get the National Defense Authorization Bill passed. Let's get our appropriations bills done, and let's get, as we talked about earlier, USMCA passed.
And also, too, there's been some talk of floating an act out there, or at least a bill, that would end the concept of a government shutdown.
Right. There are reforms, and Steve Womack, our congressman from Northwest Arkansas, has been very involved in trying to do budget reform, which would remove some of this gamesmanship and cliff's edge work. And that's kind of reforms that we need. I think a 2-year budget would be one way to do that, and I support a 2-year budget process.
And would that, is it just the fact that Congress seems to be bogged down with a lot of other things right now, and that's why it just doesn't seem to be to get through some of these appropriations?
Partially, but the Democrats are blocking these appropriations bill and the National Defense Authorization bill because of President Trump's effort to have full and complete border security. They oppose border security. They oppose President Trump's reprogramming of money to increase border security, and that's why these bills are being blocked, in my view.
Let's get to something a little more lighthearted, but still yet serious. The PACT Act. You're one of the co-sponsors there, and it's the Preventing Animal Cruelty and Torture Act. What all is involved with that?
Yeah, this bill passed overwhelmingly in both houses, and I expect President Trump to sign it if he hasn't signed it while we're in the process of taping this show. This makes it a federal crime now to stop some of the animal cruelty that we've seen. It's always been wrong to have animal fighting and post videos about animal fighting, but this now makes it a federal crime of acts leading up to that, where you're breeding animals or causing animals to be in that environment of a fighting environment. And this gives extra tools to states who already, this is illegal in most states, to prosecute someone who is a bad actor in this arena. I was proud to co-sponsor it.
Yeah, so just kind of reinforcing what states sort of already have.
Right.
Carries a 7-year maximum. Is it maximum sentence?
Yep. And this is what's important, is that we take the worst offenders in this area that apparently state law is not good enough to stop puppy mills and the kinds of things that lead to animal torture and cruelty. And this bill makes animal cruelty a federal crime with a major fine and sentencing possibility.
I know a lot of folks here in the natural state will like to hear that. Coming off the heels of Veterans Day this past week here, what do we got working on up there in terms of the VAs? I know you're constantly working with those guys to not only get cases out of the way, but also get guys some back pay and just some of that money that they've earned.
Right. Well, that's certainly, in the 5 years I've been in Congress, been my top issue I've worked on when I'm at home in the district. We have over 50,000 veterans in this district. We love helping veterans get the back pay or disability pay they have earned, and by wearing the uniform in service of their country. I was looking back over those 5 years, and we've helped over 3,100 cases that have been closed and gotten over $20 million in back pay back. But this last few days in the Capitol, I've been working on a bill that helps preserve people's credit rating. If you're a veteran and you were overpaid by the VA or underpaid by the VA, I think it should be, the burden should be on the Veterans Administration to help you repair your credit and not be out there dealing with another problem in your life by having bad credit due to a technology, IT, computer mistake at the VA. So I always look for opportunities to help our veterans in my job in Congress.
And kind of what does that do to some of these guys' credit, whether it be scores, reports, and whatever the case might be? I mean, because that's really, especially in these times, it can be pretty stressful.
Well, you can see your interest rates go up on your credit card bills. You can have credit denied. You can get past due. And start having the bank calling you for collection potentials if you were underpaid. If you're overpaid, that typical situation is where a veteran's been paid back pay or disability back pay in a lump sum, and then 30 or 60 days later you get a letter from the VA that says, oh, we made a mistake, you owe us $5,000 back. Well, that's tough for a lot of families. I just think if the VA is going to take actions like that are based on their own error, their own computer error, then we shouldn't put the burden on the veteran to repair their own credit. And so that's a bipartisan bill. I look forward to getting support in the Senate for this idea. I think it's something that would really help a lot of families.
Absolutely here, and I guess some people would even ask, where's some of the, maybe not necessarily the oversight, but just something to get to where maybe we don't see that situation of overpaying, underpaying a lot more from the VA itself.
Well, we've appropriated money for the VA to improve their technology. This is a key issue. All of America's government agencies need technological improvements. We see that on our cyber protection, on our personal identity information, but also in calculating payments. So Congress does have an obligation to make sure our agencies have adequate IT budgets.
There you go here. Yeah, never a dull moment up there in D.C. Congressman, we appreciate you coming in. Absolutely here. We'll take a look at your top political headlines when we come back. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Treat yourself to savings during FFO Homes Holiday Blackout. Our 5-piece dining group is a buy at $5.98, and our industrial queen bed with dresser and mirror is an amazing $12.98. No interest financing, too, at FFO Home.
Sunday night, it's a must-watch matchup of the league's most unstoppable forces.
Look out! Wow.
Bears, Rams, all odds on Sunday Night Football.
Tuesday, a This Is Us Thanksgiving.
There will be plenty of firsts.
Hey, Mom, you haven't returned any of my texts. Try not to worry.
The fall finale of This Is Us, Tuesday on NBC.
Ever since I was 5 years old, it's been all about football. It's been about running, jumping, blocking, tackling. I have terrible foot issues that prevented me from really having a normal life with my kids. With the Good Feet Arch Supports, man, I'm always ready. My kids actually got to enjoy me in the yard more, racing each other, backpedaling, teaching them some things, being a dad.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Come to the 84th Annual World Championship Duck Calling Contest and Wings Over the Prairie Festival. Thanksgiving weekend in Stuttgart. On Friday and Saturday, we'll have kids' duck calling classes, sporting clay competition, 5 and 10K races, a family fun run, bago tournament, and the Bud Light Duck Gumbo Cook-Off. All leading up to the World Championship Duck Calling Contest. The Wings Over the Prairie Festival, Thanksgiving weekend in Stuttgart. For more info, visit stuttgartarkansas.org or call 870-673-1602.
Blackout savings now, only at FFO Home. You'll be surprised at what $198 will buy. Your choice. Get a nailhead armchair, an all-wood rustic queen bed, or a Serta Queen mattress, only $198. Take it home today at FFO Home.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
U.S. Customs and Border Patrol say despite congressional inaction, border arrests are down from September and are 70% lower than the highest levels earlier this year. Anna Wernicke reports the CBP says cooperation from Mexico and other countries in the region have greatly reduced the number of illegal migrants arriving in the U.S.
Acting Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Mark Morgan, says Border Patrol apprehended more than 42,000 migrants at the southern border in October.
This is a significant decline.
But Morgan says that's no thanks to Congress.
Unfortunately, not a single piece of meaningful legislation has been brought forward. And as a result, this country stood by and watched as the crisis worsened.
He says the White House is picking up the slack and teaming up with Mexico to fight the crisis at the southern border.
They have 27,000 soldiers on our border now, protecting us from people coming into our country. And because of that, I'm not tariffing Mexican goods.
President Trump says the U.S. wouldn't need Mexico's help if Congress fixed the loopholes in our current laws.
I could fix them in 15 minutes, but the Democrats don't want to fix them.
But Democrats in Congress say they are taking action against the president.
You want to talk about a national emergency? The only national emergency we have now is the one that's perpetrated by this administration's policy on Remain in Mexico.
Texas Democratic Congressman Filemon Vega says if the president really wants to address the crisis at the border, he would focus on humanitarian solutions, not building a border wall.
It's just astonishing to me. And, you know, we're going to keep fighting this here in Congress.
In Washington, I'm Anna Wernicke.
Thank you, Anna. A group of Texas lawmakers host some border community residents who are suing the Trump administration over that proposed route of the border wall. Raul Garcia represents Earth Justice, the group suing the Trump administration for what they call, quote, real and dire impacts for communities living along the border. The group is trying to protect a historic church and cemetery that are now in the path of the proposed border wall construction.
For all those congressmen and senators out there that have preached that they stand by veterans, rhetoric is cheap. We expect you to act.
The wall poses a major threat to two cemeteries in Texas, holding the final resting places of veterans from both World Wars, the Korean War, and Vietnam War. Despite lawsuits and outrage from some in Congress, the Trump administration maintains they'll get the land needed for the wall. This week, the Little Rock School District teachers went on a one-day strike to voice their desire for LRSD to be restored to full local control and the lack of negotiating power of the Little Rock Educators Association. It's the first teacher strike in Arkansas in more than 30 years, and on Friday, the State Board of Education discussed the makeup of the Personnel Policy Committee. With a 5-4 vote, the board decided to allow a PPC representative at each school building, bringing the total amount of members to 41. Superintendent Michael Poore wanted to have an 8-member and 3 administrator on the PPC. Education Commissioner Johnny Key and Teacher of the Year Stacy McAdoo, who's also a Little Rock School District teacher, also expressed similar interest in a smaller PPC, but ultimately the board voted for a larger PPC.
But in the end, I think the important thing is there will be a PPC. It's just going to be a few weeks later.
I believe that we'll have to start the process all over again, which will delay us having a governing group to come in, at least on the certified staff, the teacher group.
Memorandum of understanding for local control and adding 2 members to the Community Advisory Board will be discussed at the meeting December 12th. Governor Asa Hutchinson also weighing in on the strike, tweeting this on Thursday: "So proud and appreciative of all the teachers and staff in the LRSD who were in the classroom today teaching and serving the students. A vast majority of teachers put the students first. Thank you." House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expressed her support of Democrats' handling of the impeachment hearings. The Speaker told reporters she's proud of House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff and praised the fortitude of former Ukraine Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch.
Been very busy, but all the reaction we've heard has been very positive. We're very proud of Adam Schiff and courage of the witness.
Pelosi used the term bribery for the first time Thursday to describe President Trump's actions towards the Ukraine president. And speaking of President Trump, he used a Louisiana rally to lace into the House impeachment hearings, calling the 2 diplomats who testified Wednesday, quote, "never Trumpers." Mr. Trump implored the audience to vote Republican in Louisiana's gubernatorial runoff Saturday as a message to Washington Democrats. But he began the event ripping into the impeachment process, calling it deranged and a scheme to overturn the results of the 2016 election. As he hurled accusations and insults against political opponents, Mr. Trump accused one of them of ripping the country apart.
Their schemes are already unraveling. You saw yesterday. How about when they asked these 2 never-Trumpers, what exactly do you think you impeach him for? And they stood there and went like, what? But they're unraveling, and their sinister plans will fail. They've already failed as far as I'm concerned. In fact...
And he also says the process has been a difficult one for his family. Democratic State Legislator Joyce Elliott announced her candidacy for Central Arkansas's 2nd Congressional District this past week. The announcement coming less than an hour before the end of the filing period for next year's election. Senator Elliott is the only Democrat who filed to run against Republican Representative French Hill, who was first elected in 2014. Also, hours before the filing period closed, Fayetteville native Josh Mahoney dropped out of the U.S. Senate race opposing Senator Tom Cotton. He said he would no longer be able to devote time and energy for a campaign because of family health concerns. The Republican Party of Arkansas says they are prepared to pursue legal action against any unlawful attempt to file a new Democrat candidate in that Senate race. In a statement, the party says it will not file a federal election complaint against Mahoney for his false statements. The Republican Party says they will take legal action if the Democratic Party tries to falsify Mahoney's statements to try to unlawfully put another candidate on the ballot. A look at November's election. 521 candidates filed all in all. There are 22 presidential candidates that have filed here in the natural state. 47 legislative races will be contested by major political parties next year, and 39 of the races are in the State House. 8 are on the Senate side. Michael Bloomberg, he's one of those who has filed. The former New York City mayor personally filed his paperwork at the state capitol to be included on the Arkansas primary ballot. Bloomberg then headed out for what would be considered a campaign stop, having lunch with Little Rock Mayor Frank Scott, also greeted diners there. Spokesperson has laid out what would be an unorthodox strategy should Bloomberg decide to go full on in his run. He'd skip the 4 traditional early voting states of Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina. He would jump instead on the March 3rd Super Tuesday, when a cascade of later states hold votes. Meantime, though, Bloomberg was clear about how he feels about President Trump.
That is a very easy thing to say yes, given who the Republican candidate is going to be. I couldn't be more clear. I do not think that Donald Trump should get elected.
Bloomberg staffers filed his papers this past Friday for the Alabama primary. In 2017, the Trump administration decided to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program known as DACA. The program gives work and school permits to undocumented immigrants who arrived in the U.S. as children and protects them from deportation. Our Washington correspondent Alexandra Limon reports from the U.S. Supreme Court on what happened in that hearing.
Outside of the U.S. Supreme Court, hundreds gathered and cheered for the group of young people who sued to stop the Trump administration from ending DACA. Undocumented! One of the plaintiffs is Ileana Fernandez, a DACA recipient and mother of U.S. citizens.
My children deserve to stay with their mother in the place they call home. I hope that the justices can see our humanity.
Inside the courtroom, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said the Trump administration is required to give more than 6 months' notice before taking actions that destroy lives.
There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do things. The federal government tried to terminate the DACA program the wrong way.
California's Attorney General Javier Becerra said the Trump administration did not provide reasons as legally required when ending a program like DACA.
On the other side, the government argues they provided multiple reasons why, and they say even if those reasons aren't good enough, the Trump administration is arguing that DACA itself is illegal.
Justices Neil Gorsuch and Stephen Breyer, a conservative and a liberal, both said they're struggling with how much power the courts have to review government decisions. The justices are expected to reach a decision by June. In Washington, Alexandra Limon.
We're back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View Sunday morning.
This patty melt is loaded. Beef patty, grilled onions, melty cheese on Texas toast.
I propose a toast.
Oh, awesome.
Peter, you're dull.
Okay, this feels more like a roast.
I propose a roast.
Grab a patty melt while they last and order ahead for happy hour anytime.
Woo! First in line. You don't have to wait for Furniture Row's Black Friday VIP sale. Don't? Nope. Shop today for huge savings store-wide. Plus 7 years, no interest financing. And best of all, the more you buy, the more you save. No limit. Or get free gifts with qualifying purchase. But I got a tent. It really is a great tent. The Black Friday VIP sale, only at Furniture Row.
Bacon mac and cheese bites are the perfect comfort snack.
I needed some comfort, man. It's been a tough day.
What'd you do?
Well, I only got 10 hours of sleep.
Oh.
Get them while they're hot. Bacon mac and cheese or chili cheese bites are $2.99.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that is it for today's show. Make sure you download the Capitol View podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Enjoy your Sunday.